Hey everyone, it's Bell Canto. I have another book review for you today. I just finished a lovely historical romance that I got off of Amazon. I believe I purchased it for 99 cents, and I think it still is in that price range. It is Enchanting the Earl by Frageth. Enchanting the Earl is the title. I think it's from a series called Rebel Lords of London, and this is by Kathy L. Wheeler. And this is the prequel to The Earl's Heir. So here's the lovely cover on my Amazon Kindle, or Amazon Fire tablet, I guess. And I read it on my Kindle, but I have the Paperwhite, so I don't have like the really beautiful cover photo. I just have the grayscale. But I like this a lot. It's just, you get this lovely, I don't know, your brain kind of gets more enticed by the colorful photo. Very good story. It was well worth the 99 cents. We have a lovely heroine. Her name is Lorelei Radcliffe. Let me just check that. I believe it is Radcliffe. And yes, Lorelei Radcliffe. And she sort of has a charmed life at the beginning of the story. And then it, basically her biggest woes are her younger brother, who's 8. And I guess she's probably about, doesn't say, but I would assume she's like a teenager. And her life is pretty wonderful. And then it jumps to chapter 2. And it's 4 years later, and her parents have sadly passed away in a carriage accident. And so she went from having money and station and security to her parents' death and being a woman of her time. She doesn't have the ability, I believe, legally to have property. So everything is bestowed to her little brother, who I guess is like 8 or 12 or 11 at this time, and he becomes the Viscount of the family at like 11 or 12 years old, which that happens. I mean, there were kings that were on the throne that were like 9, so, you know, little questionable about how people used to understand ruling systems, but that was how it went, and we survived somehow. But yes, so she went from a very charmed life to a life of urgency. So she's faced with a lot of decisions, and it doesn't say if it's her first coming out or her debutante or cotillion, but there's a lot at stake at her for her to secure her family and the estate and money and her little brother, because the money has seemed to run out, sadly, and her brother's, you know, too young to really do stuff. And because of the lack of funds, she actually has to take him out of his school and homeschool him at the home. And, you know, the house is needs repair. The home, not the house, you know, it's some estate, you know, mansion thing. And she needs to basically find a suitor. So she has her sort of elderly and curmudgeon Aunt Isabel guide her and get her ready for debutante balls and coming out and all this stuff. And so she's at one of her balls where she meets our hero, who is, I believe his name was Thorn Grey Kimpton. I need to look that up. Does it say? Let me go to chapter 3 while I flip. They're very short chapters. Yes, Thorn Grey, the Earl of Kimpton. So yes, he is our hero. I believe he usually goes by Kimpton. I usually think of him as Thorn, but they don't really say his name that much. I was surprised this story, it shows it at like 160 something pages, but it's really only 83 pages. It's a very short novella. Well, yeah, novella. And I thought it was more of a short novel. I thought it came in around 130 pages, but no, it's only 83 pages, which is nice. It does set up the beginning of this relationship, and this is a prequel to another book, so that is appreciative. And I do plan to read more in the series because I did like the story. But so we've met at the ball. We have Lorelei, and she's met Kimpton, aka Thorn Grey. And it's this lovely scene of him sort of kind of hiding behind the curtains. And Isabel, the aunt, is basically talking smack about Lorelei and Lorelei's mother. No, I wouldn't have done this, and blah, blah, blah. And Lorelei stands up to her aunt. And I really like that about Lorelei. I thought she was a very feisty character and knew what she wanted. And I literally liked her energy. I know that's kind of like, what is energy? But I liked her vibe. I thought Lorelei was intriguing. She wasn't a wallflower, but she wasn't like a ball buster either. She was just very assertive. She knew what she wanted, and she knew that there was stuff at risk, but she also wasn't going to settle, which I appreciated, because we get sometimes in historical romances, the heroine will have the hunky guy they're after, and then they'll have like this kind of not so great guy. Like if you think of in Bridgerton, I think it was more so in the show where he was the kind of creepy guy was kind of after Daphne, was going to blackmail her. They had sort of a guy like that, and she calls him a dandy, which I thought dandy was sort of a slur for, he might have been gay, which I kind of thought the character might have been gay, but I wasn't sure, with the time and all, they weren't going to say anyway. But, yes, so she's letting sort of her guard down because she's in private, and, Kempton is behind the shadows listening. It's like, wow, this girl's really interesting. She's different from all the other, wallflower debutantes. I like her. And then his body has a feeling that he likes her as well. And, something happens and he either falls out or he's seen by Lorelei, and I think her aunt too, and it's this whole, you were spying on us, and it was really lovely. I liked that scene. It reminded me of like equal parts of Little Women, where Jo is sort of hidden away at the ball when Meg is having like a coming out or something like that, and she and Laurie meet and get up to mischief. That kind of reminded me of this scene. And then sort of the whole scandalous seesaw me in a vulnerable state is sort of like, I haven't read the book completely, but like in Gone with the Wind, when Scarlett is like throwing the vase at the beginning and Rhett Butler catches her and she's like, you should have made your presence known. It was sort of like that motif, which I liked. I liked that sort of kind of not a meet cute, it's kind of like a meet irk, I thought that was kind of fun. But it's a very short story, which was kind of a bummer because I really liked the characters and things moved a little too fast for me. But in my head, I expected it to be a lot longer. I had kind of perused through the book to see how long it was. I knew it wasn't very long, but I guess what I had switched to was like a second, not an epilogue, but like another, like chapter 1 of the first book or something like that. And so there was like 50 extra pages that I thought I was going to have in the story, which I didn't. So everything felt really rushed because it was a lot shorter than I intentionally thought. But had some lovely romance, lovely character developments. I really did like Lorelei. Thorn Grey, I thought he was a good hero, but I didn't think he was a great hero. His point of view felt really rushed to me. He had a visceral response to her at the beginning, and then he was just sort of enamored with her, which is fine. Insta love I'm okay with, but it was a little too like, I must have her now sort of thing, rather than like a actual love, which it can insta love can happen, but I don't know, not for me. not my cup of tea. But I rated it a 4. So I did really enjoy the story, and I do want to read some more works, especially because this was 99 cents. I mean, you can get some great books, and I really like the storyline, and I want to read some more. And I think in the first book, because it's technically a prequel, it's a historical romance with the characters. I'm assuming they're already married, because I think they were married at the end of the story. I should have known. Are they married? Yeah, they're married. They are married because something happens at the end to a character. But yeah, they get married at the end. So I'm assuming they're married in the first book. So that should be interesting because a lot of historicals, it's that sort of Jane Austen archetype where, they get married and it's near the end or the end. Not so much anymore, but it's it's still a little rare to have a couple that's married in your historical romance. I'm not sure why. I like to see couples grow, and people go through ups and downs, and sometimes those downs have to find an up again. So that can always be a romance too, to re-fall in love with someone or whatever. But I love the story. I loved Lorelei. I liked our hero. This really nice plot, and I just wish there was more. I wish I'd known it was a novella. I think that would have helped me with some things. But so my Goodreads was a 4. My Spice, I think I gave it a 1, but that was more so because it was language. So like sexual language more so than anything. I just kind of gave it a 1. There wasn't a sex scene. It was more like a hands-on situation. And it was brief, so I just gave it a 1. I mean, it was spicy, but it was like, ooh, wow. So I didn't want to put 0, because to me, a 0 would be like clean, clean romance, But yeah, it's a 1. So for language and hands-on situation near the end. But very good story. I hope to read more by Kathy L. Wheeler. And this was, I was going to get the pretty cover up, but can't get it yet. This is Enchanting the Earl from Rebel Lords of London by Kathy L. Wheeler. I got this for 99¢. I'm hoping it's still about that price for y'all if y'all want to get it too, because it is a novella. So yeah, and I do want to read more. So this is the prequel to The Earl's Heir, and I think I was going to say it's an historical romance, but it's also got some suspense, which that should be interesting. The only other time I've read a historical with a mystery was, I think it was called one by Sabrina Jeffries, and it was like Undercover with the Duke, or The Duke Undercover. And that one was a series, and it was like book 5, and I was sort of lost with what was going to happen with the story. So that one wasn't my favorite, but I might pick up The Earl's Heir and read that. Probably not this month, but in a few, maybe a month or 2. Well, everyone, I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye, everyone.